Bonjour, Chikati, good evening, how far, and welcome to the Scholars at 10, a decade of transformative impact and learning. My name is Alma Akob, and I am going to be your host for today. I'm excited, I'm honored, and I can't wait to kickstart what is sure to be an exciting occasion. So please join me and let me know how excited you are in the comments. Let's see emojis, let's see, some fire words. Let's really look through that English dictionary. You're feeling ecstatic, you're feeling fantabulous. Let's dig into our biggest words and let's put it into those comment sections as well. Also, let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to know where my audience is at the moment in time. So in 2012, the Mastercard Foundation launched the program with 6 university partners and the first cohort of 145 scholars. 10 years later, and the Scholars Program has reached over 40,000 young people, including myself and a lot of you who are here today. As Nelson Mandela said, education is a powerful weapon that you can use to change the world. And the Mastercard Foundation seeks to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to learn and prosper. Today, we will hear from scholars, scholar program partners, and affiliated institutions about what has worked, what hasn't, and what a decade of recruiting and supporting talented young people looks like. But first, this is a digital age. We are using a digital platform. We are here virtually, and we would love to interact with you on our social media channels as well. So I'm quickly going to give those to you, and you can run off to social media and let everyone know what you are doing at this moment in time. So on Facebook, you are looking for Mastercard Foundation. On Instagram, it is at Mastercard Foundation. LinkedIn, it is Mastercard Foundation. And last but certainly not least, on the Twitter streets, it is at Mastercard FDN. Don't forget to use the hashtag #Scholars10 and the hashtag Mastercard Foundation. Before we go any further, I would love for us to take a look at a clip that's going to show us the number of scholars, the number of university partners, the countries, the figures, the statistics, and really paint a picture for you of what a decade looks like. Take a look. Awesome and exciting. I'm sure that you were looking at those visuals and probably seeing yourself in some of those figures, saying, I'm one of those scholars or I'm one of those alumni that are creating jobs. And it's exciting to see. So I have some locations from where people are watching from. I myself am currently watching in South Africa. So everyone who is watching here with me, sanibonani to you all. I see that we have some people tuned in from Uganda. I see we've got Germany as well. Oh, very, very exciting. We've got Accra, Ghana, and we've got a whole number of other countries. So greetings to you. Please greet me in your language as well. Let me learn some new languages. The Mastercard Foundation program ensures that scholars are exposed to across the border international opportunities, and we're going to get to know a lot more about that very soon. It gives me great pleasure to introduce at this moment and welcome the President and CEO of the Mastercard Foundation, Rita Roy. Now, Rita needs no introduction, but just for formalities, let me let you know who she is. Rita holds nearly 3 decades of global experience across the private and philanthropic sectors. Throughout her career, she has been a pioneer creating new functions, teams, and approaches at multinational organizations, whilst inspiring them, this is important, to act boldly to deliver not just profit, but tangible improvements to people's lives globally. And we are a testament to that. As president and CEO of the Mastercard Foundation, Rita has helped define the foundation's vision, strategies, instill a listening culture, and build a diverse and talented global team of network partners. Rita Roy, please help me welcome her.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining all of us as we come together to reflect on the 10 years of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. It's hard to believe a decade has flown by. When we began this initiative in 2012, the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program was conceived with a simple vision, a vision to create the next generation of transformative leaders around the world. And so we started very, very modestly with less than 10 partners, a few hundred scholars. And today, the change is profound. We have more than 40 partners, 40,000 Mastercard Foundation scholars and alumni. And we have set our sights on bringing this program to even greater heights to reach 100,000 Mastercard Foundation scholars, all of whom will be transformative leaders. And while many things have changed over the years, something profound has remained constant. It hasn't changed. And that's our belief that every young person, every young man, every young woman is so deserving of an opportunity to learn, to grow, to fulfill their true potential. And that belief is held close, shared, and fiercely guarded by all of our partners and all of our scholars. And that's why today is a day where we reflect on what the Scholars Program has meant. And it's always best to understand something through the eyes, through the experience of people who have gone through it. And that is our partners and our young people. So I'm really, really happy that we are joined today by many dynamic Mastercard Foundation scholars and 2 dear partners, Patrick Awuah of Ashesi and Martha from Fawe. Patrick, we are indebted to you because you helped us shape and influence our thinking over the years. And Martha, if it had not been for our partnership with Fawe, as well as with many others, we would not have really put that emphasis on young women. And that's why this program has more than 75% of its representation in the form of young women. We're thrilled that we can be on this journey together. And I just invite everyone to share your views, share your thoughts, and share your aspirations of what we should achieve in this coming decade. So welcome, everyone.
Welcome indeed. And I do hope that you feel very welcomed after listening to Rita Roy. As she said, share with us what you think we should be looking to achieve in the next decade. She mentioned that from the Mastercard Foundation perspective, there is a goal of 100,000 scholars, and that's 100,000 transformational leaders as well. So what do you think should be one of our goals to achieve in the next decade? Please let me know in the comment section and interact with me. Now, Rita also said something very profound. She said, it's best to hear a story from those who are either writing the story or from the mouths of those who are living that story. And so we're going to hear the story from the mouth of a scholar himself, Hero, who has lived the Mastercard Foundation experience. And he's going to tell you more. I'm not going to introduce him. He'll do all of that himself. But Hero, the stage is yours.
There is a letter for you. Some months after completing high school, I received a call from the headmistress with those short and simple words, there's a letter for you. And out of curiosity, I returned to my high school to astonishingly find an offer of admission from Kwame University and an invitation to apply to the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program. My name is Hero-Godsway Zilevu, and I come from Awuah in the Volta region of Ghana. Who would have thought a single letter delivered some 7 years ago could change the trajectory of my life? I graduated from KNUST with a bachelor's degree in engineering and proceeded to Arizona State, where I am currently pursuing my master's degree in user experience. Now, when I look back on my experience as a scholar, I thought what key things transformed my life through this journey. One of those was access to education. Even as a young and hardworking student, there's a limit on how far you can dream when you're disadvantaged. Getting expelled from school was one of the experiences I was familiar with as a high school student. And it was incredible, far from anything I had ever imagined that someday I'll be a student of Kwame University. For the first few days, it felt as if the classes were not starting quickly enough for me. The Scholars Program then was my one-time ticket to reimagine the future and to advance my dreams of promoting access to inclusive educational technologies for other young people in Africa. I had barely digested my freshman emotions when the Scholars Rite of Passage began, the leadership seminars. These seminars helped us to explore the meaning of leadership, the meaning of community, and what success meant to us individually as young people who were pulled from very disadvantaged backgrounds. Through these seminars and leadership, I discovered myself. I unlearned some of the misconceptions I thought I had about leadership, and I generously expanded my dreams to become a leader in the community. My premise for leadership is built on the understanding that our growth and progress, even as individuals, affect other people in our communities in significant ways. And that leaves me with the desire to live a life of impact and also to support other young people to achieve the same. Together, access to leadership, getting leadership education, and the community of young people, 40,000 young people, which I am a part of today, thanks to the Mastercard Foundation, are the things that shaped my life. These experiences are not only mine, they are true for 40,000 young people in Africa. And if a single letter could change my life that much, imagine what a letter to 40,000 people could do. To these scholars and alumni, I say, there's a letter for you. And on this 10th anniversary of the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program, my letter for you is an invitation to look back, to embrace leadership, and to extend the transformative power of education that you have received to your communities. And to the scholars, you have all received your letters now. Our question then for you is, what will you do with yours? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hero. If I could clap and make noise, I would. If I could give you a standing ovation, I would. So imagine this is a virtual standing ovation. I think everyone in the comments as well, if you could send in some fire emojis, some support for Hero. He's speaking on behalf of 40,000 scholars, and I think you did an incredible job of really packaging the Mastercard Foundation story. When we all received those letters, all of our lives changed forever. Mastercard Foundation has provided an opportunity for many firsts for many scholars. The first time stepping on a plane, the first time walking into a hotel, the first time hearing new languages and meeting new people, the first time walking into a university that looks like the ones we are all currently in and experiencing education in a new way. So thank you, Hero, for packaging that. There is a letter. Wait for your letter. What will you do with your letter? I've got nothing else to add to that. Congratulations to you. So next up on our agenda is an exciting conversation that's going to be happening, a fireside chat with our incredible partners, as well as scholars and some other people that you're going to hear about just now. I am honored to introduce this next group of people, and I must say that these CVs carry with them a lot of weight. So if my back starts hurting later today, I think it's because I'm carrying the weight of the CVs that I am about to announce. So stay with me as I introduce our panel that we are going to have a conversation with. So top of our panel is Mr. Patrick Awuah. He is the founder and president of Ashesi University, a private not-for-profit institution in Ghana. He was educated in Swarthmore in 1985 and in 2001, and was a program manager at Microsoft, who then returned to Ghana to found Ashesi University. Mr. Patrick has won many awards, including the Order of the Volta by His Excellency President Kufuor, the Elise and Walter A. Haas International Award, an Elin Medal for Entrepreneurial Leadership, and many, many more, but also being named one of the 50 greatest leaders in the world by Fortune magazine. Sir, it is an honor to have you here with us. Next up on the list, we have no stranger to the Mastercard Foundation. If you follow our social media pages, it is the one and only Victorine Vondee. I myself am a huge fan of her. I call her the face of Baobab. She is a Mastercard Foundation scholar who graduated from the Presbyterian University College in 2018. She currently serves as a communication and media intern at Emerging Public Leaders of Ghana. Victorine has a strong track record with the Mastercard Foundation, serving in multiple leadership roles, including being a community manager, advocating the use of Baobab, a virtual platform that I'm sure you're all aware of. Her outstanding passion for entrepreneurial activities have taken her across the continent and open opportunities for her. Victorine, it's great to have you here representing the scholars in this panel discussion rather. Next up is also no stranger. It is Dr. Philip Cotton, who prefers being called Phil. The West African in me twitches every time I say it, but I'm learning. Phil is he's the Director of Human Capital Development at the Mastercard Foundation and heads the Foundation Scholars Program, an initiative dedicated to developing Africa's next generation of transformative leaders and the largest of its kind. Phil, who is a citizen of both the UK and Rwanda, previously provided leadership at the University of Rwanda, first as principal of the College of Medicine and Health Sciences, and then as Vice Chancellor. It's great to have you here, Phil. And last but certainly not least is Martha. Martha heads the Forum for African Women Educationalists, FAWE, as a regional secretariat and is responsible for the day-to-day management of the organization. In this role, she ensures that FAWE Regional Secretariat's fiscal operations, fundraising, advocacy, human resource, and programmatic strategies are effectively implemented across the FAWE network. Woo! All right. That's our bios for all our speakers today. Please give them a round of applause and give me a round of applause as well for getting through that. I know you're probably asking yourself, what does my bio look like if Elma had to introduce me? What have I done? I think we're all going to be encouraged to go out and do a lot more. But let's get into this conversation. Now, to kick it off, I'm going to start off with a question for you, Patrick, which is, I want you to cast your mind all the way back to where it all began. And I know 10 years seems like a very long time, but maybe it might feel like a blink of an eye to you. Tell us about the Ashesi journey, how you came to start the university, and how the foundation became involved.
Thanks for the question, Alma. So the Ashesi journey is really a story it's a story that starts shortly after I became a parent. And at that time, I realized that for the sake of future generations of Africans who were coming, that we needed to see a transformation on the continent. We needed to see a continent that would rise to be on equal footing with other nations in the world. And it also seemed to me that as a Ghanaian who had the opportunity to study in the United States at Swarthmore College and to go on to work at Microsoft Corporation, that I really should come back to help with that transformation. At first, I considered establishing a technology company, but I started to speak with friends and family in Ghana. And the problems that people shared seemed to call for more than technology solutions, right? So more fundamentally, they were very frustrated that the people in positions to solve problems often contributed to those problems by acting ineffectively, or worse, by acting unethically. And so I asked the question, well, where did these people in positions of influence, where did they come from? And why did they behave the way they did? And the answer that I came to was that our leaders, at least in Ghana, and I'm sure it's true across Africa, were among the 5% at the time of their peers who got a post-secondary education. They came from our colleges and universities. And so I decided to engage with that cohort, and I proposed to set up a university that would be very intentional about educating future African leaders who are deeply ethical, who are committed to the common good, who expect problems to be solved, who expect to be part of solving the problem, and who have the courage and the professional capability to solve those problems. And I hope that this new university might set an example for others as well. So that's really where it all started for me. It was just being the parent of somebody who was in the next generation and realizing that there's a lot of work that we all need to do for future generations.
Mm. Thank you so much for that, Patrick. I always say that I believe the solutions to Africa's problems are right here in Africa and with Africans. We just need the opportunity to be able to communicate it and communicate it with confidence. So to understand that you are bringing like-minded Africans together to look for solutions is quite inspirational. So thank you for that. Victorine, my next question comes to you. Now, for you, your relationship with the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program hits close to home, like myself and like Hero here today. So when did you first hear about the Scholars Program, and what was the journey, or what was the story rather, that led you to joining?
Thank you very much, Elma. I must say I'm so humbled to be here this afternoon and to be able to join in this celebration of a decade of impact. The Scholars Program found me at Sapam Senior High School in 2014. I was studying science and serving as a senior girls prefect. Way back in school, I had the urgency in the way I just did things. I would walk very fast to class, very fast to the chemistry lab, because I always envisioned working in the hospital and that someday I'll be saving lives, running to the emergency and then the theater. I began to imagine what life in the university would be like for me. And I told my friends that, you know what, I want to enter tertiary right after senior high school. I don't want to wait. I don't want anything to come in between. And all of this seemed like a dream, because for me, tertiary education could be achieved by only a miracle, because resources, back home were very, very few to support me. And at the point when I was thinking about how this would be possible, and how God will provide, I heard an announcement at a school's gathering, SU specifically. And I was encouraged by my house mistress. Since she knew my background, she encouraged me to apply because she knew it would be life-changing. So my last day of senior high school, I had to make this application go through. And I just finished my WASI paper. I dropped my pens, quickly rushed to the passport office in town, took a passport picture, and then came back to campus to complete the form. I did all of this, and then a friend told me, you're running about and going here and there. What if this scholarship is a fraud? And I told her, what if it is authentic? And today, I'm so glad that I tried. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Victorine. I love that you have that mentality about you, that positive spirit, that glass half full rather than glass half empty, instead of what if it's a scam? What if it's not? What if it's the opportunity that changes my life and opens up these doors for me? So I'm glad that you rose to the occasion. My next question is for you, Phil. It's the decennial anniversary of the Scholars Program. 145 scholars were awarded scholarships as part of the first cohort in 2012 rather. Today, the Scholars Program has grown to become one of the largest scholarship initiatives of its kind in Africa, working with more than 40 global partners and committing over 40,000 scholarships, as we have said, to grow the next generation of transformative African leaders. At the helm of the Scholars Program tell us, how has the Scholars Program evolved, and what are the factors that have involved that development?
Thank you very much, Elma. And it's great to be here. And you asked me a question that just reminds me of the awesome responsibility, but also the excitement that we share as a team in this endeavor. And you've talked about a little bit, and Rita said the same about the growth of the Scholars Program in the last 10 years, from 145 young people to over 40,000 young people now, from 6 institutional partners to over 40 institutional partners, with Alma 70% of the group being young women. But we've also grown in the scope of our mandate. So we see this not just as a scholarship program, but really as a program that brings together the right set of actors to drive systemic change in higher education, strengthening the capacity of institutions to deliver high quality, relevant learning and produce knowledge and innovation that drives development. And other people have talked about that too. But we've also grown our commitment to inclusion. Part of our evolution has been to support those who face disproportionate barriers to accessing education, whether those are financial barriers or barriers that are based on their gender, citizenship status, or any physical or mental disability. And as we've grown, that commitment has deepened, and we've expanded our focus to ensure we're reaching out to young people, more young people who are refugees or young people living with disabilities. And finally, we've grown in our scale of ambition. By the end of this decade, we want to have enabled the education and leadership of a total of 100,000 young people. And I'm so happy and so proud to say that we're adding an additional 50,000 scholarships for young people to study at universities. And for all that's changed, it's important to say that some things have stayed the same. And these are the principles behind our evolution. Our commitment to young people has never, ever changed, and to young women in particular. Our bottom line always is, how does this improve the lives, economic and leadership prospects of diverse young people? And that's the starting point for the decisions. And, I'm just back from a week in Uganda where I met young people, scholars and alumni at BRAC, FAWE, Makerere. And it's just a huge wow. Just amazing to see and meet and to be with and to be a part of the lives of these young people. And let me end by saying that one of the main drivers for the Scholars Program is simply the need we face on the continent. Less than 10% of young people accessing higher education, and the rates of exclusion are higher for women, refugees, and young people with disabilities. There's so much that's been done, but there's so much more that needs to be done. But Elma, every question you ask me, I cannot really answer without saying thank you. Thank you to you, thank you to program partners, institutional partners, and most of all, thank you to the young people who are proud to be Mastercard Foundation scholars and alumni. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Phil. And we can't thank you enough either. I mean, I am a living, breathing proof. I'm a product of the commitment to young women, the foundation's commitment. So we are ever so grateful, and we don't want to leave. I'm an alumni. I'm supposed to be done, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay and stick around for as long as I can and stay associated with the foundation. So the theme for today's conversation and for the 10-year anniversary celebration is a decade of transformative impact and learning. So let's talk about impact. My next question is for you, Martha. The Scholars Program has been partnering with FAWE since 2013 in Ethiopia and Rwanda. Please tell us some of the stories the students who have gone through the program and what they are doing now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Elma. If I was to tell the stories about the program since 2013, I'm sure we'd need not even hours, but days, because it has been a journey of 10 years. And I want to say it has been a journey of happiness and gratitude. A lot has been achieved. We targeted 2,000 students in Ethiopia and Rwanda. And I want to proudly say that the scholars make us proud. They put in all the best that they could. But of course, great thanks to the Mastercard Scholarship Program, which we consider at FAWE as a comprehensive scholarship program. And comprehensive in that it targets the scholars, not only with the tuition, but a scholar in totality, including life skills, including empowerment program, leadership program, just to mention a few. So it's a program that has led to achievements that I will just give a summary of it. And the first one, I want to say it's an achievement of academic excellency. And when I talk about academic excellency, these were hidden treasures, and the scholarship program was able to pull out the hidden talents within the scholars, the disadvantaged scholars that would otherwise not have realized their dreams. And when I talk about academic excellence, I want to just mention a few, just as highlight. For instance, if you go to Rwanda, in one of the universities, 2 of our scholars excelled within the whole university, and the university awarded them, each one of them, 100,000 USD, just as a token of appreciation for their hard work. Within the same scholars, there were 2 scholars who graduated with first-class honors in computer science in the Department of Industrial Information Technology at Ines Ruhengeri University. The 2 students with the first class were none other than the Mastercard Scholars programs. Still with academic excellence, 2 scholars in the same university were able to be awarded a global position system by Ines Ruhengeri as the first in their department. These I refer to as academic excellency. There are many more students that have really excelled, but in the interest of time, I may not mention one by one. The other achievement that has happened and where the scholar has put our students, it's innovativeness, innovation. They have been very innovative. And just to mention 3 scholars from Ethiopia, they brought up, one of the scholars was brought up by a widow, but much as they didn't appear to be academically talented, but they were gifted with talent. And they were able to use the support provided by the scholarship in terms of leadership, in terms of mentorship, in terms of entrepreneur training. And they have been able to make it out of all the hardships that they could have been facing as students. And I also want to mention that the students, through the program that has been really an all-round program, have been innovative, have been creative, have had the spirit of giving back to their communities. They have innovated in their communities. And many of them, I just want to mention of one of the examples in Ethiopia, where the students were able to approach the council and set up a home of the elderly. And as we speak today, we are proud of those students. They were able to employ about 42 students who are now taking care of a total of 78 elderly persons within the community. And all that is nothing but, is not from anywhere, but from the scholarship program that was able to empower them. They are into leadership and they are doing very, very well. I just want to mention that out of the 11 students out of 12 at the University Guild at Ines Ruhengeri, and none other than the FAWE scholars, 11 out of 12. It's remarkable. And this is because of the emphasis on leadership. And this is not only going to stop at university, but it gives them opportunity to become leaders within Rwanda, within Ethiopia, within Africa, and the globe as a whole. So those are just some of the few examples that I can be able to mention. But in totality, The students are doing very well, thanks to the transition from the academics into the world of work, a program that has been at the core of the whole scholarship program. And as scholars graduate, they're getting into employment. We are already beginning to see their impact on their families. We are beginning to see impact on their communities. And I want to say one of the scholars in Rwanda who comes from a remote village, which is difficult to access, has been buying cereal from the small scale farmers and selling it in bulk. For those that have been very conversant with agriculture, marketing is the most challenging. And if a student can be innovative to support the community by marketing their product, it's a very good spirit of give back, and it's a spirit of community development. I want to stop there for now, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Martha. It is a story of innovation, transformation, and impact. I mean, just a few minutes ago, Phil was speaking about what the program aimed to achieve. And then we have Martha speaking about what the program has achieved, which is tangible ripple effects of impact. And those stories are powerful stories. They're inspiring. They're building. And I just think everyone who's listening has something to narrate themselves, has a story to tell. And I think that if we were to put together all of the stories of Mastercard scholars, we would have a top-selling book. So I don't know whose homework that is, but that's something we should definitely consider in the future. So speaking about stories, Phil, I just want to come back to you quickly and ask about from where you stand with your career transitioning from medicine and academia to being the head of the scholars program. How do you define success? It's such a broad term, and everyone sees it differently, but how do you define success?
Thanks, Elma, because, and how gratifying to hear those stories. Thank you so much, Martha. You know, for us, what matters most is not our definition of success, but young people's definition of success. And over the years, we've continued to listen to young people, and we've seen and heard what for them matters and what for them is success. You know, sometimes success is finding a job. Sometimes it's finding your voice. Sometimes it's both finding a job and finding your voice. It's feeling that you have the freedom and support to start a new business or a new venture. It's being able to be there for your family. It's having the confidence to walk into any room and know that you belong, irrespective of your gender, skin color, or any overt or hidden disability that you may have. And it's about thriving, not just academically and psychologically. That for us, Alma, is what success, we're told, means. Success is whatever success means for the young people who we serve. And this is a program of service. And in doing that, in addressing those dreams, those desires, and that desire for success, that has helped us inform, that's helped to inform how we develop the program. And so our program, working with institutions that have to produce an exquisite form of holistic support. And there has been success over the last 10 years that I can tell you a little bit about, because when we survey alumni, of the alumni who respond to us, 66% say that their work is dignified and fulfilling. Of the alumni who respond to us, 65% of employed alumni found their jobs within 3 months of graduating. And of the total of 1,800 alumni who responded to us, half of them have established ventures, and their ventures employ a total of 3,650 people, some people employing more than 25 people. That's the exceptional potential of a scholar, of a young person. That's the exponential potential. The exceptional potential is found in the individuals that we serve. I hope that helps in some way. Thank you.
No, it certainly does. And again, having you mention the goals and having you mention the report back of the alumni and realizing that one of those alumni is, myself sitting right in front of you, an alumni who has started her own venture and who is employing people as well. So, I mean, to put the story next to the face and there you have it. So again, very exciting to hear everything that we're doing. Patrick, my next question is to you. So the Foundation and Ashesi University are now working together on an education collaborative. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So let me just say that a few years ago, I was at a conference with Rita Roy and a number of CEOs of partner organizations to the Foundation. And she asked us a question. She asked, how would you increase the impact of your work by a factor of 100? And she didn't say, how would you double the impact? She didn't say, how would you increase it by 10? She said, how would you increase it by 100? Okay. And our answer to that question is the Education Collaborative. And let me explain why. Rita's question was a really important one, given the context of Africa today. So demographically, the population of Africa is projected to double in the next 30 years. So within a generation, the continent is going to double from 1.2 billion people to about 2.5 billion people. And that scale of growth is why it is appropriate to ask institutions how to increase their impact by a factor of 100 or more. Okay, but it is also the reason why the answer for us to that question was that, given the scale of the problem, the solution had to come from all governments and the entire market. The solution doesn't come from any one institution. The good news is higher education, which is where I work, is scaling quite quickly on the African continent. So there have been about 1,400 new institutions created, new higher ed institutions created in Africa between 1990 and 2014. And the public universities have increased their enrollment dramatically on the continent. So higher education is scaling on the continent, but quality is not, right? And so what we're doing with the Education Collaborative is teaming up with our peer institutions across the continent to learn from each other and to improve the quality of our work and to improve the outcomes for students. So we sort of trust that the scale of enrollment is happening, and what we need to do together is also make sure that scale is happening with quality. So that's what we're doing with the Education Collaborative, and it's been very gratifying the last 5 years working with other institutions. There are now over 100 African universities working together in the collaborative. We've measured direct changes in inputs and services for 116,000 students across our institutions. So these are places where the curriculum has changed, course syllabi have changed, career services are now available, student counseling is now available, and so on. And so we are optimistic based on what has happened in just the last 5 years, that over the next 10 years, we're going to see a really dramatic impact in the work of not only our institution, but other institutions. So hopefully I'll be able to report to Rita that we actually did more than 100 times improvement in our impact through the work that we do with the collaborative.
Thanks, Patrick. I think that's an encouragement to all of us to endeavor to do 100 times more. I'm listening to that as well and reflecting on my own personal life. And it's exciting to hear what's going on over there as well. Quality education, much needed on the African continent. So thank you for that. Speaking of optimists, let me come back to you, Victorine, and ask you, as we're talking about impact, as we're talking about stories, you are a story, you are, a reflection of impact yourself. So I'd love to know, what is the most impactful thing that you have achieved through the Scholar program?
Thank you very much, Elma. I think the most impactful thing that I have seen achieved through the Scholars program is how many young people's stories have changed. Years back, I would hawk on the streets, help my family sell items like pure water, ice cream, and anything that I could lay my hands on. And my story is very similar to many other young, scholars all over Africa. But now we can dare to dream, to be whoever we want to be. We have gotten a chance for higher education, and we are securing our dream jobs, while some of us are creating employment for others in our communities. Last year, I was able to contract and pay for the services of my first ever graduate fashion designer for a full-time work. This was really impactful to me because I realized that I had gone through education and then now employed someone who is also a graduate and was able to pay her. That for me was very, very impactful. Secondly, through the Mastercard Foundation digital platform, Baobab, we are connected to numerous opportunities, and not only the scholars, but other people who are outside the Mastercard Foundation network. We have opportunity to gain access to professional growth, mentorship, and even networking. And when I was an alumni in residence for the Baobab platform, a young lady reached out to me on social media, and she was like, Victorine, I want to be confident like you. I want to take more leadership roles. I want to do more, And for me, that call was very humbling, and I was able to share with her my journey. I wrote a blog. I did a write-up for other young people to also glean from my lesson. And this is just a snippet of the many things that scholars have achieved. This is just a snippet of the many things that scholars have achieved, throughout their journey. And it's very impactful. Thank you.
Definitely, Victorine. In fact, I'd encourage all scholars to go and have a look at Victorine's social media. She definitely posts the most encouraging and uplifting things over there as well. You truly are such an ambassador of the Mastercard Foundation program. So well done to you, and keep up the great work. My next question goes to Martha. I think if we could just listen to your stories over and over again, I wouldn't even ask you any questions, honestly, because that just speaks to everything else that I have to ask over here. But if I had to ask a question, it would be, if you were to summarize all of everything that has happened within the past 10 years into 3 lessons learned since the beginning of this partnership, what would those lessons be?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Elma. And there are many lessons. And just to state that I've walked this journey right from 2013 as a program officer, and now at the 10 years serving as executive director. And based on that, I've seen it all. And one of the lessons that I could share here is that the Scholars Program should not stop with secondary school scholarships. Any scholar who doesn't make it to the university, because the scholars are talented differently, and many of them may not make it to university on scholarship, but could receive support to other tertiary institutions, for instance, joining TVET, because the investment that has been put into them is quite big. And therefore, all scholars should be supported through secondary and tertiary institutions. And I'm glad that this is one of the approaches that the Mastercard had into the Scholars Program. And the other lesson that I would share over the 10 years is that a comprehensive scholarship program, which I've mentioned about, which provides both tuition fees and stipend, is by undoubtedly one of the best gifts one can give to a child who would like to go to school. when we provide the tuition, it eases the burden of providing school fees and upkeep from the family. And this, as a result, provides peace of mind for the students as they go through school, that they will not be chased away from school. However, on its own, scholarship is not enough. And what I learned from the Mastercard Scholarship Program is that to secure the future of the scholars, it's very important to have all these other programs that have been supportive programs to the scholarship. It's important to empower the scholars through mentorship, through leadership training and guidance and counseling. It is also important to ensure that the community and families are supportive of the scholars. The third one is the transition period as scholars complete their education, which is very critical in ensuring that the scholars are able to acquire gainful employment. The shortage of opportunities for the young students means the candidates would be exemption for them to be considered. However, the scholars already come out of university with the skills that they have received, and therefore it's very important for us to provide those opportunities that can enable them transition from the academic into the world of work. It's one of those approaches that the scholarship should highly embrace. The Scholars Entrepreneurs Program, which we piloted in Rwanda, the SEF program, this provided an opportunity for them, some of the scholars and the alumni who are entrepreneurship, to establish businesses that are not only giving them the living, but they're also providing other employment opportunities to other, not necessarily other scholars, but opportunities, those who may not even have gotten opportunity to go to school. So those are the three lessons that I could really mention in terms of the scholarship program. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. I must say, from a scholar's perspective, the scholarship and the stipends are overwhelming already. I mean, it's something that we honestly can't even imagine. But the foundation says, no, we can do more, and provides us with personal and professional development. And once you think you're done with varsity, you think it's done, but they say, no, we can still do more, and assist with alumni and getting into the job, into the workspace and into the workforce. So the impact, the amount of thought that has been put into this process is absolutely phenomenal. And those of us who have had the privilege of experiencing it, our lives will never be the same again. And I look forward to everyone else who's going to be touched by this. Let's take a peek into the future as we bring these conversations to a conclusion. So firstly, to you, Phil. 2020 October, we were hit with the global pandemic, COVID-19, and the world of work, the future of education as well, changed forever. It looks different. The fact that we are seeing each other virtually is, testament to the fact that it looks different. So what do you imagine the next 10 years, or what do you imagine that they're going to look like? And what role do you see the Mastercard Foundation and Scholars Program playing in this new normal, as they call it?
Thanks, Elma. I'm going to repeat what I said before, that I can't answer any of these questions without a thanks. A thanks to you, a thanks to the institutional partners, to Patrick, to Martha, and a thanks to each and every scholar. But I'm going to give you 3 E's because of time. The first E is e-learning. And why is e-learning important? And why will we see e-learning advance in the next 10 years? And it's because of the power of reach. It's because of the reach to people who are otherwise locked out of accessing higher education. We'll see enhanced capacity. We've heard of the phenomenal, amazing work that Patrick and his colleagues at the Education Collaborative are moving forward, including an important piece of work into the Francophone university space. We'll see enhanced capacity within universities, sharing insights, becoming better. And we'll see engaged scholars. That's my 3rd E. More student-led and more student-informed efforts to foster change in institutions and in education systems. E-learning enhance capacity in institutions, and engage scholars, bringing about change. Thank you.
Perfectly put there, Phil. Thank you so much for those 3 E's. I'm sure that we will remember them as you have stated them. To Patrick and Martha, a question for both of you. What would you like to see for the scholars and your institutions for the next decade? Let's start with you, Patrick.
Well, I think that for us as an institution, when we think about the work that we do with scholars, it's about 2 things, really. One is we're very, very interested in having great outcomes for the scholars. So they come to a university, they graduate, they're going to successfully find a job or start their own business or go to grad school. We want to make sure that that's true for all our scholars. The second is we care deeply about the impact the scholars will make beyond themselves in the societies in which they operate. And so really continuing to focus on that in the next 10 years. I'd add a third thing, which is that one of the things that we've been super impressed about working with the Mastercard Foundation is just how truly authentic they are about listening and learning, and really taking the things that they've learned in shaping programs, but also asking very thoughtful questions that our attempt to answer improves our institutions. Okay. And it is my hope that 10 years from now, that the Scholars Program would have demonstrated such a powerful impact from this approach that it becomes a model for other philanthropic organizations in the work that they're doing, the important work that they're doing all over the world.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Patrick. And to yourself, Martha.
Yeah, thank you, Elma, again. And I want to talk at it from 2 levels. And the first one is in terms of institution. Over the 10 years as FAWE, we've seen the program grow, and we have implemented a number of supportive programs that have led to the success of the scholars. And I want to mention one is the gender-responsive pedagogy, which builds the capacity of the teachers, both at secondary and higher institutions of learning, to teach from a gender-sensitive approach, to take into consideration some of those issues that would otherwise lead to the girls not performing well or not completing the education cycles. So I would love to see, as FAWE, continuing to work with higher institutions of learning to make sure that these supportive programs, like I mentioned, tuition alone is not adequate, but the supportive programs are very, very critical. I've mentioned about the SAFE program, which is the Scholarship Entrepreneurship Program, which gives the students life skills in terms of not necessarily looking out for jobs, but also being job makers other than being job seekers. I also want to mention the program which we have, which is termed as Tuseme. It's a Swahili word, but it means speaking out. It's an empowerment tool to young people to be able to advocate for their own rights. It's one of those programs that I'd want to see embraced by the higher institutions of learning, because they empower the students, they give them the confidence, they give them self-esteem, knowing that most of the students that we support come from very disadvantaged families. The other thing that I would love to see is the initiative that the Mastercard Scholarship Program has already started on, and this is offering post-graduation internship that can be strengthened through increased partnership within the different countries. This would mean establishing long-term partnerships and links with employers, both with the public and the private sector. And these internships are also another avenue for the scholars to turn their theory into practice and also getting into the world of work. The other one is also, I would love to see the alumni being strong supporters of the scholars program, paying forward and coming forward and helping the other scholars, the other vulnerable students to realize their potential. The alumni could be seen to be working as ambassadors for the program and also going back to the schools, going back to the higher institutions of learning and trying to give that support. That's what I would really love to see going forward with the scholars program. Thank you, Elma.
Thank you so much, Martha. And speaking about give back, Victorine, my question to you is the Mastercard Foundation values giving back. If there's anything we've learned tonight, it's that. And I'm sure that you have grand plans for your future, but how does community service fit into this picture?
Thank you very much, Elma. I think giving back for me is an everyday thing. I always hope to avoid the bias of looking for specific dates when I can contribute. Instead, I look for avenues and gaps where my help is needed to make a difference. I quite remember during the COVID-19 pandemic, I asked myself, what can I do now? Then I noticed the gap because we lacked personal protective equipment and people around me were using pieces of clothes and handkerchiefs, which offered no protection at all. I was able to rally volunteers, collaborated with seamstresses, created a fundraiser within my network, and then supplied more than 400 free nose masks for people in my community. Another time, I decided to volunteer in the hospital. I met a teenage mother. She had very low blood levels, and she was to deliver her child. She refused admissions on several occasions. Then I sat her down, explained to her that admission was needed and that her life and that of her child was at risk. It was through conversations that she opened up to me, and I knew that she didn't have anyone to support her or even donate blood, to her. So I came in, spoke to the person at the scan room, had a free scan for her, started calling everyone in my network, in my contact list, from church to neighbors to someone who knew someone who could match her blood type. Eventually, we had donors who came around and were able to save blood for her. And then even other people in the hospital had some blood reserves as well. Now she needed medication and upkeep money for admission. I went from ward to ward with a basin, from nurse to nurse, doctor to doctor. We raised money right at the spot to support her. Hospital admissions, buy medication and food. And within the week, she was able to, deliver without any complications. So yes, giving back fits perfectly within, my future plans. I'm currently looking forward for avenues to empower people with digital skills and looking forward to empowering them in every aspect of their lives as well. Thank you.
Victorine, I don't even know what to say to that. You are literally saving lives. At the end of the day, let's say it as it is. And we're grateful to you. We're grateful to all scholars who are going out there and waving the Mastercard Foundation flag high and representing what the Scholars Program is all about. You are ambassadors. Congratulations to you, and keep doing what you are doing. Even if no one is watching, the impact that you are having on people is changing their lives. And if they are seeing it, if they are feeling it, that's all that matters. So keep doing that. Let's round this off with what I like to call the quick fire session. Actually, not me, one of the organizing teams. Let me not steal their idea. So we're going to have a quick fire conversation. And how this works is I'm going to give you a sentence. For example, I am most proud of dash. You then have the opportunity to fill that sentence with one word or two words maximum. Not a paragraph, just something very short, which is why it is quick fire. So I will say the sentence and then I will call out names and you will give your input. All right, let us begin. I am most proud of, Phil?
Brilliant and resilient scholars.
Brilliant and resilient scholars. We'll take it. I am most proud of, Patrick?
Amazing students, amazing alumni.
I am most proud of, Martha? You are currently...
Sorry, I'm most proud of thousands of girls that have made it against all odds.
against all odds. And I am most proud of, Victorine?
Community.
Community. I think that there is no better way to summarize what has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for being so gracious with your time and for sharing your stories. And for everyone who has listened to that, I'm sure that you will not leave here today the same. We are all fired up and motivated to go out into our communities and be the change that we want to see. So thank you to you, my panelists. Thank you to you, my audience, and thank you all for that great fireside conversation. Don't go away just yet. We have a great performance coming up from one of our scholars. We have multi-talented scholars, I must say. They're not just academics. They're not just helping out in the community, but they also have skills and talent. So we have a performer by the name of Kosi, and we are going to listen to what Nkosinati has to say.
Scholars at 10, scholars at 10, scholars at 10, scholars at 10, scholars at 10. Like-minded people, I like such kind of people. Here to network, these are my kind of people. I wanna grow, I wanna know, be it in the highs or low. Make me better than I was 2 days ago. Once I'm transformed, then I'll transform. All the leaders that I'm leading, I'll transform. Make them better, make them good, make them icons. In the world out there, may they shine strong. That's my prayer, that's my hope, that's my plea too. Everybody listening to this fine tune. Lead the change, be the change in society. We can change, make the change a reality. People's lives are blurred, they need clarity. We're not playing, we're not dreaming, it's reality. Make that impact, you live a legacy. This is no football, no fantasy. Here we are at 10, standing strong. At 10 we've grown so much. At 10 and done so much. Here we are at 10, standing strong. At 10 we've grown so much. At 10 and done so much. They told me be resilient, the message sounded heaven sent. I never asked why, cause the message sounded relevant. In this time and age it was evident. With a lot going on we moved on. Hope to get a remedy to that pain. Reach greater heights, that's our aim. Together we unstoppable. Breaking bounds, anything is possible. Tell your story to the people, tell the people to know that this story is a story everybody should know. Never limit dreams, never narrow goals. We talking wins, yes we talking scores. Conceding none, we know no defeat. We never split, yeah we never quit. Eagle-like vision, we never squint. Focused on the mission, we can never miss. Here we are at 10, standing strong. At 10 we've grown so much. At 10 and done so much. Here we are at 10, standing strong. At 10 we've grown so much. At 10 and done so much. Here we are at 10, standing strong. At 10 we've grown so much. At 10 and done so much. Here we are at 10, standing strong. At 10 we've grown so much. At 10 and done so much.
Woo, woo, woo. Thank you so much, Kosi. I think we all need the lyrics to that song so that when we do eventually meet face to face, we are able to sing it together. It sounds absolutely brilliant. Congratulations to you. And thank you for entertaining us tonight. So all good things come to an end, but this is not the end. This is just the beginning of many things to come. We are celebrating a decade of transformative impact and learning. Scholars at 10. Don't forget to use our social media handles, #Scholars10, and make sure that we hear from you what your experience of today was. Also, thank you so much for being so engaging with me. To my audience, you have been in the chat, you have been communicating, you have been sharing your stories from the beginning until now, and I look forward to when we will meet again, which I know will be very soon. I think I've seen some comments that say we have a scholar who's a possible Grammy Award winner, and that's to you, Mr. Kosi. So we are here to support your talents and your skills. I like to end off every single conversation that I have, especially when there are scholars involved, with a little word of encouragement, a call to action. So from me to you, Mastercard Foundation scholars, remember to strive for individuality and not conformity. Seek to dismantle superiority and fight for equality. Challenge authority and be the voice for the minority. My name is Elma Akob, and this has been the Mastercard Foundation Scholars at 10, a decade of impact. Have a good evening and see you soon.